Okay, so good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to this advanced technical training of applied thermodynamics. So I am Professor Digvijay Runge. So in last lecture, we started the basic concepts of thermodynamics. So we haven't actually started the laws of thermodynamics. In last lecture, we have seen what is temperature, what is pressure, what is meant by path, what is meant by process, what is meant by state, and all those basic terminologies what are used in thermodynamics that we have seen. So quickly, I will take the revision of last lecture and then we can continue today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we'll be covering first law, second law, zeroth law. Then we'll be solving numericals also. So it is advised that you be ready with your pen and paper so that we can solve the numericals. Okay, right. So again, I will say that the motto behind this advanced technical training is first to cover your basics, then we can discuss advanced topics, and if time permits, then we'll see like numericals which are asked in previous competitive examination. Okay, so this will help you in competitive examination as well as in your technical rounds in campus placement. Okay, so even though if anybody in your class is not interested in gate or in higher education, still he can benefit from it and he can crack technical rounds of companies. Okay, so multiple objectives or outcomes are there from this training, right? So we'll cover the yesterday's contents. Okay, so yesterday we have seen what is meant by thermodynamics, right? Then we have seen what is meant by system and surrounding, what is meant by boundary, that we have seen yesterday. What is meant by so there are three types of system: closed system, isolated system, and open system. So that also we have seen in last lecture. Then we have seen what are the properties of system. So there are two types of properties: intensive properties, extensive properties, right? Then we have seen what is meant by state and equilibrium. Okay. So when a system changes its state from 1 to 2, so it is said to undergo one path. Okay. Then there are some properties which are path dependent. These are called as path function, like heat and work. Then there are some properties which are point dependent. So these are called as point functions. Okay. Then path and process. Then we have seen what is meant by cycle. Then we have seen what are the reversible and irreversible processes. Okay. What is the importance of reversible processes? That also we have seen in last lecture. So this is for temperature. We have seen what are the unit conversion in temperature, right? For pressure also we have seen the unit conversion, right? Then we have seen the generally used terms: vacuum pressure, gauge pressure, absolute pressure, right? Then we have seen the ideal gases and real gases. We have seen the ideal gas law. Then we have seen the laws for the real gases. Okay. So laws like Van der Waals equation and other two laws that are applicable to real gases. Thermal equilibrium concept we have seen. It is achieved when there is no temperature difference. We have seen what is meant by heat and what is meant by work. Okay. Today's lecture will say what is work for the PDV work. Right? Then we have seen the three modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection, radiation, which you are now studying in heat and mass transfer subject. Okay. Then we have seen specific heat. What is meant by specific heat? That we have seen. It is the amount of energy required to raise the temperature by 1 degree Celsius of a unit mass. Okay, so that is different for every material. Today we'll solve one example also based on specific heats. Okay, then we have seen specific heat at constant pressure Cp, specific heat at constant volume Cv. So there is a relation between Cp and Cv. Cp is equal to Cv plus R. R is a gas constant. Then Cp by Cv is gamma. So that is a ratio of specific heats. Okay. So this is about last lecture. Today we'll continue. Okay. So another important point, according to academics, is nowadays you are given a task to complete your minor project. So always select a subject of your interest and which will help in your further career goals. Okay. Don't select a subject just because it is very easy to do or something like that. You can select programming, you can select any softwares, that way you can complete your minor projects. Okay. So this is very good thought I came across today. So like update yourself daily. The best competitor for you is the person you were yesterday. Okay. So you have to keep track on your goals. So major disadvantage or drawback of this pandemic situation is that we often lose the track of our goals in our life. Okay. We may get lost in social media and other things. But keep track of your goals every day. We try to be person better than who you were yesterday. Okay. So with that, we'll start today's content. So PDB work, okay? Work, as you already know, work is defined as integration PDB. So from where this equation is derived, that we'll see. So there is again piston cylinder assembly is there. State 1 is P1 V1, state 2 is P2 V2. Obviously, there is a expansion is taking place. So let the piston moving from thermodynamic equilibrium state 1, that is P1 V1, to equilibrium state 2, P2 V2. So let the value at it in intermediate equilibrium state given by P and V. Okay. So it is, let us say it is moving by a small infinitesimal distance, that is a dl. So that is a general procedure you might have seen in all the derivations in engineering. We always start with some small amount of work or the power, then we go for the integration and then we get the equation. So work, as you already know, force into distance, F into dl. So force can be replaced by pressure into area. So again, area into dl will be dv. Okay. So we can say that work done from process 1 to 2, that is integration P dv. Okay. So this is shown by this graph here. So pressure versus volume graph is there. P1 V1 was this state 1. Now process takes place to state 2. Okay. And work done in always is the area under this curve. So integration sign. So that physical meaning is we are taking the area under this curve. Okay. Differentiation means we are calculating the slope of the tangent. Integration means we are calculating the area. So that is the physical meaning of these two terms. PDB work in different quasi-static processes. Okay. So first process here it is isobaric work. So pressure remains constant, but volume changes. In this case, the work done will be equal to pressure into V2 minus V1. Okay. Second case here is isochoric. That means volume remains constant. If the volume remains constant, work done will be 0. Okay. Integration will be 0. So because area under a line, that is a 0. Again, PDB work in different quasi-static processes. Okay, so this is a polytropic or isentropic process of expansion is in front of you. So there is a derivation if you go like integration PDB. Okay, in that case you will get the final equation as P1 V1 ln V2 by V1 or P1 V1 ln P2 P1 by P2. So this is the work done in any quasi-static process. Let us say polytropic or isentropic process. Okay. These are the equations. So this is the equation generally used in the reciprocating air compressor. There we calculate the work done in compression or expansion process, generally in compression process. So that equation here it is P1 V1 divided by N minus 1. N is the index of compression or index of expansion. In bracket 1 minus P2 by P1 raised to N minus 1 by N. So don't worry, we'll take these equations when we'll be seeing reciprocating compressors. Okay. All right. Okay, so that was all about work. So we have seen heat and we have seen work. Okay. Now we start the laws of the thermodynamics. Now, zeroth law of thermodynamics was not invented at the starting. So it was started with first law, then second law, but later on, one another law was introduced. But as it's important, it has to be introduced in the beginning. So it was named as zeroth law of thermodynamics. So 0, 1, 2, 3. What is zeroth law? Statement: if two bodies are in thermal equilibrium with the third body, then they are also in thermal equilibrium with each other. So it is like that mathematical equation which you might have studied. If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then obviously A is equal to C. Okay. Now you may say, sir, this is very common sense, but yes, but there is some significance of this law. So A, B, and C. Okay. So the significance of this law is this is used for the thermometers. Okay. So I can use the thermometer. I can calculate the temperature here. I will use again thermometer. I will calculate the temperature here. So thermometer in this case is acting as C. So C we can replace with the thermometer. Okay. So if the thermometer measures the temperature of A as 25, it measures the temperature of B as 25, then we can say these are in thermal equilibrium. Okay, so this is the significance of zeroth law. Now this statement seems to be very simple. However, this cannot be directly concluded from the other laws of thermodynamics. It serves as the basic validity of temperature measurement. Now replacing the third body with a thermometer, the zeroth law can be stated as two bodies are in thermal equilibrium if both have the same temperature. Okay, so that is the minimum criteria or the basic criteria for thermal equilibrium, that their temperature should be equal. Regarding even if they are not in contact with each other. Okay, so the C object is replaced with the thermometer. If thermometer is showing the same temperature values for A and B, then we can say that A and B are in thermal equilibrium. Okay. So temperature A measured by thermometer is known. A is in thermal equilibrium with B. The temperature B also known as even not in contact with thermometer. Okay. So this is the beauty or the significance of zeroth law of thermodynamics. It was formulated by R.S. Fowler. Okay. However, significance is realized after the half century after its formation of first law and second law. Hence, it is named as zeroth law of thermodynamics. Okay. So that is about the zeroth law. Okay. A equal to B, B equal to C, then A is equal to C. Simple as that. But significance is that we can replace the C by thermometer. With thermometer, we can measure temperature of A and B. Then we can say that A and B are in thermal equilibrium. Okay, so next is first law of thermodynamics. Okay. What is the first law? It is important due to its ability to provide a sound basis to study between different forms of energy and their interactions. The statement is energy can neither be created or not be destroyed during the process, but it can only be converted from one form to another. Okay. So there is an example is given. There is one stone which is at the edge of the cliff here. So some amount of potential energy is being stored in that stone. Now when the stone falls from that cliff, in that case what is happening? Potential energy decreases and its kinetic energy increases. That means some part of potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. But total content of energy in that case remains constant. Okay. So here it is given. Potential energy is equal to kinetic energy. Whatever reduction in potential energy, that will be gain in kinetic energy. So that is given by first law. Total energy content remains same. Energy can only be converted from one form to another. We usually use first law for processes. So we have a statement like Q is equal to W plus U. So Q from process 1 to 2, W process 1 to 2, U is the internal energy. Okay. So this is a statement we generally use for processes. So this forms the basic for heat balance and energy balance. So net change in the total energy of the system during a process is equal to difference between total energy entering and total energy leaving the system during that process. So here it is, energy in, energy out is equal to change in energy. So this again forms the basis for the steady flow energy equation. So what is that? We'll see in next slide. Steady flow energy equation. So this is very important equation. Many times numericals are being asked based on this steady flow energy equation. I'll draw a diagram here. Okay. So suppose this is some control volume is there. So mass is entering here and it is leaving from this side. So let us say it is having some velocity v1, it is having some enthalpy h1. Okay. Then at exit also it is having velocity v2, enthalpy h2. Some amount of heat is being added in the system. Some amount of work is done by the system. Okay. And that flow is steady flow. Okay. That flow or the flow rate of that fluid inside this control volume remains constant. So that is why it is a steady flow, and then we are deriving one energy equation. Okay. So what is that equation here? So let us say this is a datum. Okay. Then we can say this height here it is, let us say Z1. Then let us say this height here it is Z2. So SFP equation is given by H1 plus P1 square by 2 plus GZ1 is equal to, sorry, here I have to add the Q. Q is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2 plus W. Okay. In most of the cases, if I take the example of steam turbine, okay. In these cases, what generally happens, they neglect the Z value. So Z value is generally equal to 0. Datum passes through its axis. In that case, these terms are neglected. Also, they neglect the velocities also. Generally for turbine, that equation is H1 plus Q is equal to like V2 square, H2 plus W. Okay. So these equations are simplified for the turbine. In this case, they are neglected the kinetic energy as well as potential energy. Okay. So there are many simplifications are there. We'll see when we'll solve the numericals. Okay. This is a general SFE equation on mass basis. Okay. Now, what are the limitations of first law? So this is very important topic here. So it all starts with the PMMFK, perpetual motion machine of first kind. So PMMFK, perpetual motion machine of first kind. What is a perpetual motion machine of first kind? Suppose there is a heat engine is there. Okay. It will perform work without any energy input. So this is a perpetual motion machine of first kind. There is a converse also. What is the converse for PMMFK? That there is a heat engine, heat pump or refrigerator, which will continuously consume the work without any heat loss. Okay, without any heat loss. So these are the PMMFK, perpetual motion machine of first kind. But first law says that PMMFK is not possible to consider. This we can say from first law. Okay. So first law says that this heat engine should be receiving heat, and all of that can be converted into work. Or the converse, this refrigerator will consume some work, then it will transfer to some heat, or it will lose some heat. Okay. So by first law, this is valid. Okay, by first law, this is valid, but we all know that this is not the case. Okay, so this is the limitation of first law. If I take efficiency of heat engine here, so that will be equal to work output divided by Q. And in this case, all the heat is been converted into work, so efficiency will be 1 or the 100%. So first law says that there can be a machine with 100% efficiency. So that is the first law limitation. Now another limitation here it is, say I have some cup of tea. Okay. Initially, its temperature is, let us say, is 70 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, what will happen in this case? Some energy will be transferred to the surrounding, obviously, right? So then its temperature may again decrease to 50 degrees Celsius. Okay. But if I take the opposite condition, there is a cup at 50 degrees Celsius, and if I try to gather the heat from the surrounding, whatever heat was lost, if I try to gather the heat from the surrounding and it is supplied to it, and I expect its temperature again should increase to 70 degrees Celsius, then physically it is not possible. Okay? Gathering the heat from surrounding, again supplying to water cup, and then again its temperature increasing to 70 degrees Celsius, it is not physically possible. But first law says that it can be possible, because we are just converting one form of energy into another. Okay, so this is the limitation of law. First limitation is, it says that any machine can have 100% efficiency. Then it says that it does not give you direction of the process. So it says that this direction of motion from cup to surrounding, it is also possible. And it says that this direction of motion from surrounding to the cup, it is also possible by first law. So these are some limitations of the first law. That is why we went for the second law of thermodynamics. Okay. So what is the second law? So hot cup of coffee gets cooled off when exposed to surrounding. Energy lost by the coffee is equal to energy gained by the surrounding. Here, first law is satisfied. However, converse is not true. That means taking out energy from the surrounding and again supplying to the coffee, and then coffee getting hot. So this is not possible. So first law cannot give you direction of a process. Still, first law is satisfied because there is just a conversion of heat from one form to another. So another example is given here. There is one heater coil is there, heating a room by electric heater by passing electric current through the resistor. So electric energy supplied to the heater is equal to energy transferred to the surrounding. So that is justified by the first law. However, converse is not true. You cannot take the heat from the surrounding, again supply to the heating coil, and you expect that some kind of current will flow through it. Okay, so it is not possible. Transferring heat to the wire, equivalent amount of electric energy generated in wire. This is not physically possible. Still, first law is satisfied. So this is the limitation of first law. Another example is given. Paddle wheel mechanism operated by a falling mass. Paddle wheel rotates as the mass falls down and steals the fluid inside the container. Okay. What is happening in this case? This mass is freely falling. Then it will rotate this shaft, and this will steer the fluid inside this container. Okay. The decrease in potential energy of mass is the increase in internal energy of the fluid. So first law is satisfied. But however, converse is not true. You cannot take back that internal energy of fluid, again pass to the shaft, and then that mass will again elevate in upward direction. So transferring heat to the paddle wheel is not raising the mass. Okay. But first law is satisfied. So this is some kind of limitations happening here for the first law. So from this day-to-day life example, it can be clearly seen that satisfying the first law of thermodynamics does not ensure for a process to occur actually. Processes proceed in certain direction but may not in reverse direction. First law of thermodynamics has no restriction on the direction of a process to occur. This identity of first law to predict whether the process can occur is solved by the introduction of the second law. Okay, so if any process is physically possible or not, that can be stayed with the help of a second law. Now, what is the significance? Second law is not limited to identify the direction of the process. Yes, we can use it, but it is just not limited for that. It also can assert that energy has quantity as well as quality. It has to determine the degree of degradation of energy during the process. So this comes under the topic of availability and exergy. So that we actually did not study it because it is not included in our university syllabus. But in thermodynamics, those topics are there: availability and exergy. It is also used to determine the theoretical limits for the performance of commonly used engineering systems such as heat engines and refrigerators. Okay, so before going to heat engines and refrigerators, we'll first see what are the thermal energy reservoirs. So thermal energy reservoirs are the hypothetical body with relatively very large energy storage capacity. So we already know there is a source and there is a sink. So you supply any amount of energy to the source, its temperature will not increase. For example, sun. For sink, we can take example of ocean. You supply any kind of amount of energy to the ocean, its temperature will not increase. Okay. So that can supply or absorb finite amount of heat without undergoing change in temperature. For example, ocean, lake, atmosphere, two-phase systems, industrial furnaces, etc. Reservoir that supplies the energy in the form of heat is known as source. And reservoir that absorb the energy in the form of heat is known as sink. Okay. Now here again another limitation of first law. Now there is some paddle wheel is there. We are rotating that paddle wheel. There is some blades are fixed at the bottom, and we are stirring the water. In that case, some heat will be generated, and that heat can be transferred to the surrounding. But if I take the converse situation, if I take that heat again supply to the water, it is not possible to again rotate the shaft. Okay, so this is a one directional or this is a irreversible process in which rotate the shaft, stir the water, transfer the heat to the surrounding, but the converse, transfer heat to the water and then shaft will rotate. This is not possible. So from such examples, it can be concluded that work can be converted to heat, but converting heat to work requires special devices. So those special devices are called as heat engines. These devices are known as heat engines. So characteristics of heat engines, they receive the heat from high temperature reservoir, they convert some part to the work and then reject the remaining heat to the low temperature reservoir or sink. So they operate on a cycle. So heat engines are generally work producing devices. For example, gas turbines, IC engines, which you already studied, steam power plant, which you already studied in second year of engineering. So this is a very famous or the general diagram for the heat engines. So there is a source which is at TH temperature. Then we take some amount of heat QH, some work is produced. Then some amount of heat, that is QL, is rejected to the thing at temperature TL. Okay. Now there is an example is given for the steam power plant. So it is said that though every component, if I take the boiler, so this we cannot say a closed system because water is coming and it is converted into steam. In turbine also it is open system, this is open system and this is open system. But if I combine all these components, okay, if I combine all these components, then we can say that it is a closed system. Okay. So can keyword be eliminated? Answer no. So there has to be some heat to be released to the sink. Without a heat rejection process, the cycle cannot be completed. Net work output, here it is work out minus work in. So turbine work is the positive work, pump work is the negative work. Each component is an open system. But however, a complete set of components, no mass flows in or out of the system, hence it can be treated as closed system. In closed system, the change in internal energy is zero. So by first law, we can say that Q is equal to W. W is equal to QH minus QL, or the heat supplied by the boiler minus heat rejected in the condenser. Part of heat output that is converted to the net work output is measure of performance of the heat engine. That is known as thermal efficiency of the heat engine. And thermal efficiency is given by net work output divided by total heat input. So that is given by W. Net work output is turbine work minus pump work divided by QH. So I hope this diagram is very familiar to you. This is for the steam power plants. In boiler, we get the steam. That steam is supplied to the turbine. We get the work output. Then that steam is passed to the condenser. It is condensated back to the water. That water is pumped to the boiler pressure, again supplied to boiler. Okay. Then this condenser, again there is another circuit for the cooling tower. So there is a cooling tower is there. Then for the boiler, there is another circuit for the ash, coal, and the flue gases. So like many other components are there also in steam power plant. Okay. So here in this case, efficiency is equal to, thermal efficiency is equal to work output divided by heat input. Okay. So if the QH is the magnitude of heat transfer between cyclic device and the source temperature TH, QL is the magnitude of heat transfer between cyclic devices and the sink. Work net output will be equal to QH minus QL. Okay. Another thing here it is very important is that Carnot efficiency. Now Carnot efficiency, in that case it assumes that every cycle is the reversible cycle. So for Carnot, every process is reversible and the whole cycle is reversible cycle. If I take a Carnot efficiency here, Carnot efficiency is generally given by efficiency sign and reversible, because all the processes in the Carnot cycle are reversible. So in this case, this is given by 1 minus TL by TH. Okay, so this is the formula for Carnot efficiency. And that heat engine, we can call it as a Carnot heat engine. Okay. Next here it is, heat engines must give away some amount of heat to the low temperature reservoir to complete the cycle. Thus, the heat engine must exchange the heat with at least 2 reservoirs for continuous operation. This forms the basis for the Kelvin-Planck expression of the second law of thermodynamics. Okay. What is the Kelvin-Planck statement? We'll see. So in first we have seen PMM FK, perpetual motion of first kind, which continuously does the work without any heat input. Okay. Now first law states that this is not possible, but instead of that, this is possible. Okay. But Kelvin-Planck statement states that this is also not possible. No machine can have 100% efficiency. Some part of it has to be rejected to the sink. So heat engine should be like QH, some amount of work is done, and some amount of heat is being rejected to the QH. Okay. So this is the chronology: PMM-FK, then first law, and then Kelvin-Planck statement. So it is impossible for any device that operates on a cycle to receive heat from a single reservoir and produce net amount of work. That means all of heat is converted into work. That is not possible. Alternately, no heat engine can have a thermal efficiency of 100%. So that is all about heat engine. Next is about refrigerator and heat pump. Okay. So heat is always transferred from high temperature to low temperature region. Okay, that's what you are studying in heat and mass transfer subject. That heat is always transferring from higher temperature to low temperature. But if you want to change the direction, if you want to transfer the heat from low temperature to the high temperature, in that case you need an external work. Okay. The reverse process cannot be occur on itself. To transfer the heat from low temperature region to high temperature region, one requires special devices known as refrigerators. So this is a diagram. So diploma people might easily understand this diagram. This is from subject of refrigeration air conditioning. This is what we generally call it as VCC, vapor compression cycle. Okay, in your next semester, in your that subject rack, you will study this VCC. Okay. So VCC has condenser, evaporator, compressor, and expansion valve. In this case, heat is being absorbed from the evaporator and it is rejected in the condenser. Okay, and external work output is compressor work. This is a diagram for the refrigerator or heat pump. So So the diagram for heat refrigerator and heat pump is same, but it differs in the objective. If my objective is to keep this space at high temperature, then it will be heat pump. If my objective is to keep this space at lower temperature, then it will be refrigerator. Okay, so diagram is same, it differs in objective. The efficiency of refrigerator is expressed in the terms of coefficient of performance. COP is given by desired output. So desired output for refrigerator is to remove the heat from sink, that is QL. Required input is W. Okay. So first law gives work is equal to QH minus QL. So COP is equal to QL divided by QH minus QL. Okay. So always remember COP will be equal to desired output. For refrigerator, desired output will be QL, that is to extract the heat from sink, divided by input is work. Okay. So here COP is given, this formula is given. But if you want to go for Carnot refrigerator, a refrigerator whose all processes are reversible, in that case, COP reversible will be equal to this. I can replace by TL divided by TH minus TL. Okay, so this is a for Carnot refrigerator. Okay. For a heat pump, COP is expressed as desired output. For the heat pump, our desired output will be to maintain the source at higher temperature. So that will be QH. So QH divided by W. So the COP of heat pump is given by QH divided by QH minus QL. If I am considering a Carnot heat pump where all the processes are reversible, so COP of Carnot heat pump will be equal to TH divided by TH minus TL. Okay, this is for Carnot heat pump. Okay. Right, and another equation is given here. It is COP of heat pump is equal to COP of refrigerator plus 1. Okay, so COP of heat pump is always 1 plus COP of refrigerator. The last here point here it is Clausius statement. Okay, so all the converses that will be studied here. So we first have PMM FK converse. What was the converse of PMM FK? There is a refrigerator which is continuously absorbing the work without any heat rejection. Okay. Then first law says that it is not possible. First law says that this is possible. Refrigerator can take the work and release equivalent amount of heat. So first law says that this is possible. But second law or the process statement says that this is also not possible. It says that this is possible by Clausius statement. Okay. So Clausius statement here it is. It is impossible to construct a device that operates on a cycle and produces no effect other than transfer of heat from low temperature body to high temperature body. Right. So it has to supply some output work. Without output work, it is not possible. So there are two statements are there, Kelvin-Planck statement and Clausius statement. It starts with PMM FK, perpetual motion of first kind. First law says that PMM FK is not possible. By first law, what is possible? That we are calling it as a PMM FK, be a perpetual motion machine of second kind. But Kelvin-Planck statement and Clausius statement says that PMM FK is not possible. Then they give the actual definition of heat pumps and heat engines. Okay. Alternately, no refrigerator can operate unless compressor is supplied with external power. So without compressor, there can be no refrigerator and heat pump. Now there is very important derivation was there in your second year of engineering, the converse. Okay, so if any heat engine violates the Kelvin Planck statement, and if I use the same heat engine as a refrigerator by changing the directions, that refrigerator is also not possible to construct. So it disproves that violation of Kelvin Planck statement results in violation of Clausius statement. Converse is also true. So if a refrigerator is violating Clausius statement, and if I convert that refrigerator into heat engine, so that heat engine will also violate the Kelvin Planck statement. Okay, so this is all theory up to this point. So we have studied basic processes, thermodynamic equilibrium, then we have studied zeroth law, first law, second law. We have seen Kelvin Planck statement, Clausius statement, PMMFK, PMMFK, first law. So all these we have seen. So it is time to solve the numericals. Without numericals, your understanding won't be much clear. Okay, so all these numericals I have taken from the Made Easy book for the GATE. So hope you all be able to solve it. Okay. Right. So this is an example in front of you. I want you to read. So this is very basic example. It is all related to your specific heat understanding. Right. Okay. So a steel ball of mass 1 kg, specific heat 0.4, is at temperature of 60 degrees Celsius. It is dropped into 1 kg water at 20 degrees Celsius. The final steady state temperature of water is. Okay. Very simple example. This is applies the concept of thermodynamic equilibrium. So it will reach to some constant temperature after heat transfer. Suppose this is the water which is initially at 20 degree Celsius. Then I am dropping one steel ball inside of it, which is at 60 degrees Celsius. So obviously, what will happen? There will be heat transfer. There will be heat transfer from the surface of ball to the water. Okay, so this will be heat transfer by convection. Then after heat transfer, it will reach to some thermodynamic equilibrium. So that temperature we have to find out. Okay. So again, mCp delta T, mc delta T for steel will be equal to mc delta T for water. That means whatever heat lost by the steel ball will be heat gained by the water. mc delta T is the heat we are referring in this numerical. Okay. Mass of steel ball, here it is 1 into specific heat is given as 0.4. Okay. Delta T will be, let us say, initial temperature of steel ball. We denote it as a let us say TS1. Okay. Initial temperature of water we denote it as a TW1. Okay. Heat loss by the steel ball. So heat loss will be equal to initial temperature 60 minus final temperature. Let us say they both reach to final temperature of TF minus TF. This will be equal to mass of water here it is 1 kg into its specific heat is 4.187 specific heat of water into delta T. So its temperature will increase. So that is why I will take TF at first because TF is higher minus 20. Okay. So solve this and calculate the value of TF. Only one answer is there, option number A. Others also please cross reference or verify it. So calculate others. This was asked in GATE 1993 for 1 mark. So others please calculate and tell me the answer TF final temperature. Okay, so I hope what is his name? Rohit's answer is correct. Option number A. So I'll write it here. So I'm not calculating. So whatever you calculate, I will assume that is correct. So option number is A is correct. Right. So there are other students are also there. Parke is there, and Kajakosh is there. Sate is there. Shelar is there. Arpan Rao is also there. So respond to the numericals. Okay. Right. Next is one MCQ. Hit and work R. So you have to select the okay D. Most of the students are saying D. Okay. So obviously heat and work are not the properties. Okay. So we cannot say they define the system. Okay. Pressure, temperature, those are the properties which define the system. Heat and work are not the properties. Then whether it is a point function or path function, so we have seen they depend on the path. So that is why it is a path function. Okay. So if I draw a diagram for pressure versus volume, this is state 1, this is state 2. It undergoes some kind of expansion. So if I calculate the work in this case, so that will be this much. Okay. If I take another path, if I take this path, in that case work will be more. Okay. So it always depends on the path. Next year it is asked in 2017 GATE for 2 marks. Let us see it. The volume and temperature of air assumed to be ideal gas in closed vessel is 2.87 meter cube and 300 Kelvin respectively. The gauge pressure indicated by a manometer fitted to the wall of the vessel is 0.5 bar. If the gas constant of air is 287, obviously, and the atmospheric pressure is 1 bar, again, obviously, the mass of air in kg in the vessel is. Okay, this is purely based on ideal gas equation. PV is equal to MRT. Okay, so calculate. So PV is equal to MRT. Calculate the pressure first. So here gauge pressure is given 0.5 bar plus we have to do the atmospheric pressure, that is 1 bar. So total pressure, absolute pressure here it is 1.5 bar or 1.5 into 10 to power. Volume is given 2.87 meter cube. Temperature is given 300 Kelvin. R is given 287 joule per kg Kelvin. So calculate the V, not the V, calculate the M. So one Shraddha has given answer as 5. Option number C. Okay. Others. So what it seems to me that others have lost their calculus because they find it useless in this online or the pandemic situation. So if your calculus is lost, please try to find it, or you can order on Amazon also. Okay, calculus will be very important throughout your life. Gayatri Joshi has given answer 5. Okay. So I will not calculate. I will take your answers only. So I'll write it as 5 kg. So option C will be correct. You can see that this kind of questions like will be asked in GATE. Okay, in other competitive exams also. So quickly move to the next. The inlet and outlet conditions of steam for an adiabatic steam turbine are indicated in the notations are usually followed. If the mass flow rate of the steam through the turbine is 20 kg per second, the power output of the turbine will be. So already read the example correctly. They are given the adiabatic steam turbine. That means Q will be 0. Okay, and then they give on the diagram also. This is the turbine. These are the inlet conditions. These are the outlet conditions. Okay. This is a classic case for SFE equations. So SFE, what is the SFE equation? H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus GZ1 plus Q is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2 plus W. Here enthalpy H1 is 3200, that is in kilojoule per kg. We have to convert it into joule. Plus V1 square by 2, 160 square divided by 2 plus GZ1. Okay. So G is 9.81 into Z is 10 meter is equal to H2 is given 2600, again kilojoule converted into joule, plus V2 is given 100 meter square divided by 2 plus 9.81 into 6 and plus in this case what is not given? Power is not given. So output power is not given. So calculate the W from these equations. Sumit Taure, good. After a long time, I'm seeing your name, Sumit Taure. Okay, yeah, sir, Khati, Shudha Patil. Okay, some new names are also there. Okay, so what will be the answer? Calculate W. This was asked in GATE 2009 for 2 marks. Not this, but this will be asked for 1 mark. Calculate. So why is it taking so much time? Simple subtraction, multiplication, addition is there. Calculate and tell me. Anybody? Try to solve it fast because there are limitations on time in actual examinations. Again, one more example is there, then we can stop. So first complete this. So what will the answer? Okay. Okay, so solve it and then afterwards you can tell me. Right. So next, figure below shows a reversible heat engine having heat interaction with three constant temperature systems. Calculate the thermal efficiency of the heat engine. So this is a for the second law of thermodynamics. Here we have to calculate the thermal efficiency of the heat engine. But there are some terms are unknown here. Here the term unknown is Q3 and W. Okay, so first we have to calculate that. Afterwards, you can calculate the efficiency of the engine. Okay. Before going to this numerical, a very important thing actually I forgot to mention here that was related to the entropy. The entropy's concept was very important, and in the flow actually I forgot to mention it. So for entropy, we have very important statement, that is a process statement is there for entropy. That is for any cyclic processes, cyclic integration dou q by t is always less than or equal to 0. So that means cyclic integration dou q by t for is equal to 0 for a reversible cycle, and cyclic integration dou q by t is less than 0 for irreversible cycle. Okay. For processes, this is for cycles. For processes, so ds is always greater than or equal to dq by t for a process. So how to so for ds is equal to dq by t. ds is change in entropy. So this is the property of the system which is called entropy. Entropy is the randomness inside the system. This is for reversible processes. ds is always greater than dq by t for irreversible processes. How to equal this? If I want to equal this, then I have to add something on RHS. So ds will be equal to dq by t plus some term is added. That term we are referring it as a S generation, that is entropy generation. So for a process, for any irreversible process, the entropy always increases. So there is a statement which is called as entropy of the universe always increases, because all the processes in the universe are irreversible. So if I want to integrate this, so this will become S2 minus S1 is equal to integration 1 to 2 dq by t and plus entropy generation. So this is again, it will actually change here, but we are generally writing in this format. Okay. So there is some another equations are there for entropy change for ideal gases, for phase change processes. All those equations are there, but this is a general statements which are sufficient. Okay. Now here in this case, what they have shown here it is there is a reversible heat engine. There is a reversible heat engine. Okay. That means I can apply this equation. Okay. So here I can apply integration dq by t is equal to 0 because all the processes are reversible. What is meant by that? I have to take this q divided by this temperature, this q divided by this temperature, and this q divided by this temperature. Okay. So this will be 100 divided by 1000 plus 50 divided by 500 plus q3 is unknown divided by 300. This equal to 0. So from this you can calculate the q3. Gayatri has calculated at 60%. Okay, so Gayatri, please tell what will be Q3 here. So that's calculated this as a 60 kilojoule. Okay, 60 kilojoule, right? Space here, no, I don't have space here. So Q3 is calculated as 60 kilojoule. Okay. So this is the QH, what we heat receive from the source, and this is the QL. So if I want to write that equation, what is the equation? QH is equal to W plus QL. Okay. So here QH is heat from source, that is 100 plus 50 is equal to W is unknown. QL is known, is 60. So you can calculate W. I think this will be 90 kilojoule, right? Then you can calculate the efficiency is equal to work done divided by QH, or 90 divided by QH is 100 plus 50, that is 150. We can calculate the efficiency. So I think Gayatri has already calculated that 60%. So I will take her answer. The efficiency in this case 90 divided by 150 will be 60%, okay, or 0.6. Right. Okay, so there are two more examples. The next example is very important. It is related to the two cycles in conjunction. So we'll see that. For two cycles coupled in series, the topping cycle has efficiency of 30% and bottoming cycle has a efficiency of 20%. The overall combined cycle efficiency is. So what is meant by topping and bottoming? So what is happening here actually? There is a source TH1. Okay. There is a heat engine HE1. So it will release QH amount of heat, QH1. It will perform some amount of work 1. Then it will release some energy here, QL1, to a sink at the temperature TL1. Now there is another heat engine which will receive the heat from the sink of first. So sink of first will become source of second. So this will receive again QH2, heat engine 2. It will again perform some work, W2. It will release some amount of energy or the heat to its own sink, that is the TL2. So in this case, this is a topping cycle, this is a bottom cycle. Here in this case, the efficiency is given. First it is given 30%. Here it is given 20%. Then you have to calculate the overall. Okay, so there is a derivation actually for this. There is a formula for overall efficiency will be equal to efficiency 1 plus efficiency 2 minus product of this efficiency. So here it will be 0.3 plus 0.2 minus 0.3 into 0.2. So 0.3 plus 0.2 will be 0.5 minus this will be 0.06. So 50 minus 6, that will be 44. So this will be 0.44 or we can say 44%. Okay. This is very important formula here. If there is one topping cycle, there is a bottom cycle, overall efficiency will be equal to efficiency 1 plus efficiency 2 minus product of 2 efficiency. So here is 44%. So as rightly calculated by Gayatri, so 44% will be correct answer. I hope you are getting these numericals. I don't know why you still did not calculate that this value of W. So I hope one person will calculate that and tell the answer later. And this is the last numerical for today's lecture. The Carnot cycle is having efficiency of 0.75 if the temperature of high temperature reservoir is 727 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature of low temperature reservoir? Okay. So in this case, TH is given as 727 degrees Celsius. Convert that into Kelvin. And TL is unknown, but they have given efficiency. Carnot efficiency is given as 0.75. So we have this formula for Carnot efficiency. 1 minus TL divided by TH. 0.75 is equal to 1 minus TL is unknown. TH, if I convert this into Kelvin, that will be 1000. Yes, 1000 divided by 1000. So calculate the TL. So Gayatri form मध्ये आहे. Others also catch her speed. D answer is given by Abhijit Kote, 250 degrees Celsius. Gayatri has calculated minus 23 degrees Celsius. Okay. So this answer, what we will get, that will be in Kelvin. So please tell me the answer first, then I will tell. I think this will be 0.25. Yeah, so this will be 250 Kelvin. So Kote, please pay attention to the units. You get 250 Kelvin. 250 Kelvin, this minus 273. So that will be minus 23 degrees Celsius. Okay. So Abhijit Kote, take care. You might lose your precious mark even after calculating right value. Okay. So that is for all today. So quickly I will take the revision and then we can stop. So today we started with the PDB work, right? Work is equal to integration PDB. Then we have seen for two processes, isochoric and isobaric, and for polytropic. Then we have seen the zeroth law, its significance. Then we have first law, its limitations. Sorry, steady flow energy equation. Then its limitations. Then we have seen second law. Okay, in second law we have seen heat engine, steam power plant. Then we have seen heat Kelvin Planck statement. Then we have seen the refrigerator. Okay. Then we have seen the COP, thermal efficiency and COP calculation. Then we have seen the Clausius statement. Then we have seen the converses to it. Kelvin Planck statement is violated, then that will also violate the Clausius statement and converse. Then we have solved some numericals. Okay. So I will put this PPT on our group, not with solution, without solution. That I will put on our group. There you can practice. Also, I will put that made is I have taken a scan PDF. So that will also I will put on our group. Okay. So quickly I will take the attendance. So how many are there today? 50 means 48 students are there. Okay, okay, good. So yesterday there were 65, today is 48, right? So please tell your friends that it is our experience from last year. Students don't study on their own. स्टुडंट पहिल्यांदा म्हणत असतात सर आम्ही आमच्या अभ्यास करतो हे ते पण परत पोरं अभ्यास करत नाही. ज्यावेळेस एखादी कंपनी येते त्यावेळेस त्यांना मग ती सुचबुद्धी सुचते, मग ते जुने नोट्स काढतात, रिव्हिजन करायला लागतात. त्यावेळेस एवढं वाटायचं असतं की पूर्ण प्रेशरमध्ये पोरं जातात. त्यापेक्षा तुम्ही स्टेप बाय स्टेप, दिस इज ऑल्सो वन काइंड ऑफ रिव्हिजन. यू रिवाइज युअर कन्सेप्ट. तुम्ही जेवढं टाइम टू टाइम रिवाइज करत जाल, तर उद्या एखादी कंपनी आली किंवा एखाद्या उद्या समजा कॉम्प्युटर एक्झामची डेट निघाली तर तुम्हाला टेन्शन नाही राहणार, कारण तुमचे बेसिक कन्सेप्ट ऑलरेडी रिवाइज झाले. तुम्हाला फक्त बसून परत प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्ह करायचे आहेत. ओके. So tell your friends also to join. This is going to benefit them only. Okay. Right. So in next lecture we'll start with steam power plants. We'll see their numericals, and then last we'll see reciprocating air compressors and all that. Okay. So see you in next lecture.
Thank you for attending.